Let me ask you something honest. How much money have you spent on your garden this year? Bags of mulch, flats of annuals, fertilizer, new tools, it adds up fast. And then by the end of July, half the color is gone. The spring bulbs are done, the early perennials have faded, and you're standing in your garden looking at a whole lot of green and thinking, I have to go spend money again. You go back to the nursery, you buy more annuals to plug the gaps, and you tell yourself next year it'll be different. But next year comes and the cycle repeats. That's what most gardeners are dealing with. The feast or famine garden. Beautiful for about 6 weeks in spring, presentable in early summer, and then slowly dying on the vine right when you most want to be outside and enjoying it. The long, hot weeks of July, August, and September, when you have cookouts and family visits and evening hours on the porch, the garden looks exhausted. And it doesn't have to be that way. The solution isn't more annuals. The solution is picking the right perennials, plants that are engineered by nature to bloom for months, not weeks, and planting them this June so they have everything they need to perform. Today I'm giving you 13 of the absolute longest blooming perennials you can plant right now. Plants that will be giving you color in September and October that they started in June. And listen, stay with me through this entire list because I'm saving the single most jaw-dropping long bloomer in this lineup for number 3. And it's a plant that very few American gardeners are actually using right now. You'll be glad you stuck around. Let's count down from 13. Number 13, threadleaf coreopsis. This plant is a blooming machine. From late spring through late summer, and often into fall with a bit of deadheading, threadleaf coreopsis produces an almost uninterrupted flush of small, daisy-like yellow flowers above delicate, feathery foliage. The most famous variety, Moonbeam, produces soft, pale yellow flowers that blend beautifully with everything else in a mixed border. Zagreb is a more compact, golden yellow variety that's equally reliable. What makes this plant exceptional for a long-blooming garden is that it doesn't just bloom once and call it a season. It blooms continuously, especially if you shear it back by about a third in midsummer after the first big flush. Doing that triggers a second, equally strong wave of bloom that carries you right through September. Threadleaf coreopsis is also one of the toughest plants you can grow. It thrives in full sun, handles drought and poor soil without complaint, and is completely winter hardy across most of the US. It's actually one of those plants that blooms better in lean soil, too much fertility, and it gets floppy. Plant it in June in a sunny spot with good drainage, give it a few weeks to establish, and then watch it go. For a homestead garden, this is the kind of plant you put in and then almost forget about, because it just keeps producing without demanding anything from you. Number 12, catmint. If you have never grown catmint and you're looking for a plant that blooms like crazy, handles drought, deters deer, attracts pollinators by the hundreds, and looks beautiful doing all of it, this is your plant. Catmint produces masses of small lavender blue flowers from late spring through summer on sprawling mounded plants with soft gray-green aromatic foliage. The key to getting the most out of catmint is what I call the midsummer shear. When that first big flush of bloom starts to fade, usually in July, take your head shears or a pair of scissors and cut the whole plant back by about half. Hard, decisive cut. Within 2 to 3 weeks, fresh new growth emerges, and the plant rebounds with a second bloom wave that's often as strong as the first. Some varieties, especially Walker's Low, will give you a third flush if you cut it back again in late August. Walker's Low is a misnomer, by the way. It gets about 2 to 3 feet tall and wide, but it's the most reliable and longest blooming catmint variety available, and it's my top recommendation for most gardens. It's virtually indestructible once established. Full sun and decent drainage are all it needs. No fertilizing, no staking, no deadheading required. Just that 1 or 2 midsummer haircuts and it rewards you all season long. Number 11, Black-Eyed Susan. Here's a plant that is iconic for a reason. Rudbeckia goldsturm has been one of the most popular perennials in American gardens for decades, and it holds that status because it genuinely earns it year after year. From midsummer through fall, July through October, it produces an absolute carpet of golden yellow daisy flowers with dark centers. And I'm not exaggerating when I say carpet. A mature clump of goldsturm will be covered in hundreds of flowers simultaneously, giving you this brilliant mass of color. Right in the heart of summer when a lot of other perennials have already peaked. Beyond the bloom season, which is extraordinary on its own, the seed heads that form after blooming are beautiful through winter and serve as a critical food source for goldfinches and other seed-eating birds. On a homestead, that's the kind of multi-purpose value that justifies growing a plant. Rudbeckia wants full sun and average soil. It actually struggles in overly rich, heavily amended beds, getting floppy and less vigorous. Plant it in a sunny spot with reasonable drainage in June and it will establish quickly. It spreads by both rhizome and self-seeding, so give it some space to expand over time or divide it every 3 to 4 years to keep it contained and vigorous. Number 10. Salvia. For sheer color intensity combined with long bloom season, ornamental salvia is hard to beat. These upright, spike-forming plants produce densely packed blooms in deep blue-purple, lavender, rose, and white from late spring through summer. And they do it with a reliability and intensity that few perennials can match. The key varieties for longest bloom time are Caradonna, stunning deep purple flowers on almost black stems, and May Night, which is an award-winning deep violet variety that blooms heavily and reblooms readily after cutting. Deadheading or shearing back after each flush of bloom is the key to getting continuous color from salvias. Cut the spent flower spikes back to where you see new growth emerging lower on the stem, usually about half to 2/3 down. And within a few weeks, you'll have a fresh set of buds. In favorable conditions with attentive deadheading, ornamental salvia can bloom from late May through October. It's also extremely drought-tolerant, once established, deer-resistant, and a major pollinator magnet. Bees absolutely love it. Plant in full sun in well-drained soil. Ornamental salvia resents wet feet, especially in winter, so if your soil is heavy clay, amend it or create a raised planting area. It's cold hardy to zone 4 in most varieties. Number 9. Blanket flower. If you want big, bold, in-your-face summer color that doesn't quit, blanket flower is one of the most reliable choices you can make. The flowers are these striking bicolor daisies in combinations of red, orange, and yellow, often with a deep burgundy center and warm orange to yellow outer petals, and they bloom prolifically from early summer through fall with minimal attention. Varieties like Goblin and Fanfare are compact and particularly free-blooming. The key to keeping blanket flower going all season is regular deadheading. Removing spent flowers before they go to seed redirects the plant's energy into producing new buds. If you let it go to seed, bloom production slows considerably. Spend 5 minutes every week or 2 snipping off the dead heads, and you'll have continuous color from June through October. Blanket flower is one of the most heat and drought-tolerant perennials you can grow. It genuinely thrives in poor, sandy, dry soil, the conditions that defeat so many other plants. On a homestead with challenging soil or exposed sunny spots that dry out quickly, Gaillardia is one of your best friends. The one thing it truly cannot handle is wet, poorly drained soil that will kill it quickly. As long as drainage is good, it's nearly bulletproof. Number 8. Shasta daisy. The classic white daisy of American gardens has been refined over the decades into varieties that bloom longer and more reliably than ever before. Modern Shasta daisy varieties like Becky, which is particularly well adapted to hot, humid summer conditions in the South, and Banana Cream, with unusual soft yellow flowers, can bloom from June through September when properly maintained. The secret to long bloom on Shasta daisies is consistent deadheading. As soon as a flower head starts to fade, cut the stem back to the next set of leaves or a branching point, and the plant will redirect energy into new buds. An established, well-tended clump of Shasta daisies can be in near continuous bloom for 3 to 4 months. They're excellent cut flowers too, which means you get to enjoy them inside the house while keeping the plant clean and actively blooming outside. Plant in full sun in well-drained, moderately fertile soil. Shasta daisies like regular moisture but will rot in waterlogged conditions. Divide every 2 to 3 years in spring or fall. Clumps that aren't divided tend to die out in the center and bloom less. The outer sections of a divided clump are always the most vigorous. I want to stop here for a second and share something important with you, because we're right at the midpoint of this list, and I see the same mistake over and over again in gardening. People plant these long-blooming perennials and then wonder why they stop blooming by August. And here's the honest answer. Most of these plants need you to do one thing: deadhead, shear, or cut them back at the right moment. That midsummer intervention is the difference between a garden that looks great in June and a garden that looks great in October. The second half of this list has some of the most spectacular long bloomers in all of horticulture, and number 3 especially is a plant that I think should be in every serious homestead garden in America. Keep watching. Number 7, coneflower. Coneflowers are one of the most beloved perennials in American gardens, and when you grow them right, they earn every bit of that love. The classic purple coneflower blooms from early summer well into fall, June through September or later. And modern varieties now come in an almost bewildering range of colors: orange, yellow, white, deep red, coral, pink, and bicolors that look almost artificial. Beyond the extraordinary bloom season, coneflowers are one of the most ecologically valuable plants you can grow. The flowers feed bees, butterflies, and other pollinators throughout summer. The seed heads that form in fall feed goldfinches, chickadees, and other songbirds through winter. And the roots have a long history of use as an immune-supporting herb, something that matters on a homestead where you're thinking about plants that serve multiple purposes. For longest bloom, grow the straight species or Magnus. These are the most vigorous and longest-lived varieties. Many of the fancy new colors are beautiful but shorter-lived. Plant in full sun in well-drained soil. Deadhead early summer flowers to encourage reblooming, but leave the fall flowers to develop into seed heads for the birds. Divide every 4 to 5 years to maintain vigor. Number 6. Penstemon. Penstemon is one of the most underutilized long-blooming perennials in American gardens, and I genuinely don't understand why. These upright plants produce tall spikes of tubular flowers in shades of pink, red, purple, white, and lavender from late spring through summer, and hummingbirds absolutely cannot resist them. The native penstemons, Penstemon digitalis husker red with maroon foliage and white flowers, or Penstemon barbatus in shades of coral and red, are particularly well adapted to American conditions. They bloom for 6 to 8 weeks initially, and then, if you cut back the spent flower spikes, often produce a second flush of bloom in late summer. Husker red is especially vigorous and long-blooming and has been selected as perennial plant of the year in the past. Penstemon wants full sun and excellent drainage above everything else. It's native to dry, rocky habitats, and will quickly rot in clay soil or any spot that holds water. In good, fast-draining soil with full sun, it's drought-tolerant, deer-resistant, and essentially maintenance-free, except for cutting back the spent spikes after bloom. Number 5. Agastache. Now we're getting into the real powerhouses of long-season bloom. Agastache is a genus of upright, aromatic perennials that produce tall spikes of small tubular flowers in orange, pink, purple, blue, and red from midsummer through fall. And they do it relentlessly. The blooms keep coming whether you deadhead or not, though deadheading does extend and intensify the show. Varieties like Blue Fortune produce cooling blue-purple spikes that bloom from July right through October, and the plant reblooms from cut-back stems without skipping a beat. Ava and Kudos series are exceptional in warmer climates. What makes Agastache particularly special on a homestead is the wildlife value. Hummingbirds, monarchs, bees, and dozens of other pollinators are drawn to it, in numbers that you have to see to believe. A mass planting of Agastache in full bloom in August is one of the most extraordinary wildlife moments you can create. It's also aromatic. The foliage smells like a combination of mint and anise when you brush against it, and it's drought-tolerant once established. Most varieties are hardy to zone 5 or 6, so in colder northern gardens treat it as an annual or mulch heavily in fall. Number 4. Veronicastrum. This is a plant that I think deserves to be in far more American gardens than it currently is. Culver's root is a tall, statuesque native perennial, growing 4 to 6 feet tall, that produces these elegant tapering white or pale lavender flower spikes from midsummer into fall. It blooms from July through September with a grace and verticality that makes it a perfect back-of-border plant. And those tall spikes are architectural even after the flowers fade, holding interest well into winter. It loves full sun to partial shade and consistently moist, fertile soil, a natural for rain gardens or areas that stay reliably moist. Once established, it's extremely long-lived and requires essentially zero maintenance. It doesn't spread aggressively, doesn't need staking despite its height, and it's deer-resistant. The pollinators, bumblebees especially, absolutely love it. On a homestead where you're creating a naturalistic, wildlife-friendly planting, Veronicastrum is one of the most valuable tall perennials you can grow. It's not a plant you'll find in every garden center, so you may need to order it from a specialty nursery, but it is completely worth seeking out. Number 3. Gaura. I told you I was saving something special for number 3, and here it is. Gaura is one of those plants that, once you see it in a garden, you have to know what it is. It produces these airy, dancing wands of small flowers, white to soft pink, on tall, wispy stems that move in every breeze. The effect is like a cloud of butterflies hovering over the garden, which is why it's sometimes called whirling butterflies. And here is the extraordinary thing. Gaura blooms from late spring, May or June, through hard frost in October. That's 5 to 6 months of continuous bloom. 5 to 6 months. I am not aware of another reliably perennial plant in American gardens that delivers that kind of continuous show in full sun. It blooms in the heat of July and August when other plants are sulking. It blooms through dry spells without irrigation. It blooms in poor sandy soil that would kill most other plants. It just blooms and blooms and blooms. Siskiyou Pink is a particularly beautiful variety with deep rose-pink flowers. Whirling Butterflies is the classic white form. Passionate Blush is a stunning bicolor. Plant Gaura in full sun with excellent drainage. It strongly resents wet soil, especially in winter. In zones 5 and warmer, it's reliably perennial. Provide a bit of winter mulch in zone 5. It self-seeds lightly, which means over time you'll have a few volunteers to move around or share. For continuous color with almost zero maintenance across an impossibly long season, Gaura is in a class of its own. Number 2, Perovskia. Russian sage is one of the most stunning late-season perennials in existence, and its combination of ultra-long bloom period, extreme drought tolerance, and silver blue color makes it one of the most valuable plants in a full-sun garden. From midsummer through fall, often July through October, it produces masses of small lavender blue flowers on tall, airy silver stems. The effect from a distance is this haze of blue-silver that floats over the garden like smoke, and it's completely unlike anything else growing in a typical American landscape. Little Spire is a compact variety good for smaller spaces. The straight species grows 4 to 5 feet tall and wide and makes a bold, dramatic statement. Russian sage is one of the most drought-tolerant perennials you can grow once established. It actually performs better in poor, dry soil than in rich, amended beds. Too much fertility makes it floppy and reduces bloom. Cut it back hard in early spring, within 6 inches of the ground, before new growth emerges. That's the one maintenance task it needs. It's deer-resistant, pollinators adore it, and the silver stems are attractive even in winter. For a sunny border on a homestead, Russian sage is one of the most reliable, longest blooming, most beautiful perennials available. Number 1, reblooming daylily. I gave the number 1 spot to reblooming daylilies because they represent the single biggest upgrade you can make to a garden's season-long color. Now, standard daylilies and the old orange roadside variety bloom for about 3 weeks, and that's it. But modern reblooming daylily varieties are a completely different story. Varieties like Stella d'Oro, Happy Returns, Rosy Returns, and Pardon Me bloom in early summer, take a brief rest, and then rebloom repeatedly through summer and into fall. Happy Returns is particularly remarkable. In a warm summer, it can produce 5 or 6 rounds of bloom from June through October, giving you essentially continuous yellow flowers. For nearly 5 months, daylilies are among the toughest, most adaptable perennials in existence. They handle drought, poor soil, heat, humidity, and neglect with equanimity. They multiply rapidly, meaning one clump planted this June becomes 3 or 4 clumps by next year that you can divide and spread throughout the garden. The flowers are also edible, something worth knowing on a homestead. Each flower lasts only 1 day, but with reblooming varieties, the parade of new buds is nearly continuous. Plant in full sun to partial shade in any reasonable soil. Water in well this June, and then step back and let them do their thing. Divide every 4 to 5 years for maximum vigor and rebloom. 13 plants that bloom for months, not weeks. That's the shift that turns a feast or famine garden into one that rewards you every single day from June right through October. These aren't difficult plants, they're just the right plants. The ones that work with your time, your budget, and the reality of a busy homestead life. Drop a comment below and tell me which one you're planting this June. And if you've been fighting the gap in color problem all summer long, share this with someone else who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more honest, practical homestead gardening content every week. I'll see you in the next one.